Your ticket doesn't belong here, the pilot said, voice low but sharp. Talia Turner, 15, stood frozen beneath the glare of the first-class sign. Her backpack strap trembled under her fingers. Around her, the Dallas terminal hummed with rolling luggage and muffled boarding announcements. "Ah, I paid for this seat," she whispered. Her mother, Denise, placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Sir, the boarding pass was issued correctly. She's assigned seat 1A. The pilot, Captain Reed, leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "First class is full. She'll need to move to economy." A hush rippled through the waiting passengers. Someone cleared his throat. Another woman shifted uncomfortably, scrolling her phone but listening. Denise tried again, voice measured, respectful. "We purchased the ticket months ago. Why move her?" Reed's jaw flexed. "It's policy. Unaccompanied minors don't sit up front." Talia lifted her chin. "I'm not alone. My mother is right here." He didn't look at her, just flicked his pen against his badge like a metronome. "Ma'am, I'm not repeating myself. Either she moves or she doesn't fly." Talia's throat tightened. Her heartbeat drowned out the distant call for travelers heading to Gate 12. She slipped her hand into her jacket, brushing the small silver wings pinned inside the lining. Her grandfather's, polished smooth by time. She had carried them for courage. She hadn't expected she'd need them today. A man in a gray suit spoke up, timid. If she paid for first class, shouldn't she stay? Reed didn't turn. "Sir, this is between us." Denise inhaled, slow and steady. "Captain Reed, please. My daughter has a medical anxiety condition. Crowded cabins make it worse. First class wasn't luxury for us, just breathing room." Reed sighed, curt. "Economy or off the flight." Talia felt every eye now. Watching, judging, sympathizing. No one stepping forward yet. She looked at the wings again, barely shining in the terminal light. Her grandfather had once walked these halls as a pilot. He'd loved the sky too much to leave it. He'd fought hard for a place in it. If only Captain Reed knew whose granddaughter he was shoving aside. If only anyone did. The gate attendant hesitated. "Captain, maybe we should double-check the ticket." Reed lifted a hand, silencing her. And that was the moment Talia felt something spark inside her. Not anger. Resolve. She stepped toward him. "Captain Reed," she said softly, "before you decide, there's something you should know. Enjoying this? Tap subscribe for tomorrow's story." For a moment, Captain Reed just stared at her, as if the air between them had grown heavier. "Something you should know." The words hung there, between the first-class carpet and the economy crowd, between the quiet hum of the terminal air vents and the sharp, impatient click of his pen against his badge. Then, "Ma'am, we really don't have time for this," he said, turning toward Denise instead of Talia. "We're already tight on departure." The gate attendant glanced at the clock. The line behind them shifted, restless. Talia felt her courage wobble. Her fingers closed over the silver wings hidden inside her jacket. Cool metal. Smooth edges. The only thing this morning that felt solid. 3 hours earlier, her bedroom had smelled like fresh laundry and the faint lemon polish her mother used on the dresser. "Do you have your inhaler?" Denise called from the hallway. "It's not my lungs, Mom. It's my brain," Talia had answered, but she tucked the inhaler into her backpack anyway. She knew anxiety didn't care what the label said. Next went the folder with her scholarship letter. Skybridge Youth Aviation Foundation. Finalist. Award ceremony in Boston. Her first trip that wasn't for a funeral, a move, or someone else's crisis. This time, she was flying for her future. Talia opened the small velvet box on her nightstand. Inside, resting on dark blue cloth, lay the silver wings. They were old-fashioned, heavier than they looked. Her grandfather's name, Elijah Turner, was etched faintly on the back. "Granddad," she whispered like a secret prayer. "You flew with this airline when they barely had 3 planes. Help me not freak out today." He had been gone 3 years, but his story still lived in their house. The storm he diverted around by instinct. The summer the airline almost closed and he took half pay so others wouldn't be laid off. She knew every story by heart. Sometimes, when he sat at the kitchen table with his coffee, he would tap the wings with one finger and say, "This company, our family put a lot into it." She had never asked what he meant exactly. Our family felt big and mysterious, like there was more there, but he'd always change the subject or wink and say, "One day, you'll see." She pinned the wings inside her jacket instead of wearing them on the outside. They felt safer, close to her heart, hidden. Denise stepped into the doorway, keys in hand. "You ready, baby?" "As I'll ever be," Talia replied. In the car, Denise kept her eyes on the road. "First class will help. Less noise, more space. Remember your breathing if it gets tight in there." Talia nodded, watching the sky outside the windshield. Clear blue, wide and open. "Do you think Granddad would be proud?" "Honey," Denise said softly, "he was proud the day you were born. This," she gestured toward the airport signs coming into view, "is just proof he was right." Now, standing at the gate, Talia wondered what her grandfather would say if he could see her being pushed toward the back of the plane he had loved so much. "I'm asking you one last time," Reed said. "Are you moving to economy or not?" Talia swallowed. Her mouth felt dry. Behind them, someone sighed loudly. Another person muttered something about missing connections. Denise's voice was calm, but Talia could hear the strain. "Captain Reed, my daughter has a confirmed first-class ticket with your airline. We followed every rule. All we're asking is that you follow them too." He shook his head. "The rule I'm following is safety and comfort for all passengers. Anxious minors belong with the general cabin." "That's it." The gate attendant's hand hovered over the keyboard, uncertain. Talia's palm pressed hard against the wings. "Something you should know." She heard her grandfather's voice in her memory, low and warm. "You have more power than you think, kiddo. Use it right." She took a breath. "Captain Reed," she said again, louder this time. "You keep talking about your airline's rules." His eyes snapped back to her. "Well," she continued, heart pounding, "this airline meant everything to my grandfather. And he meant more to it than you realize." A couple of passengers raised their heads, curiosity sharpening. Reed frowned just slightly. "What are you talking about?" Talia tightened her hand around the wings, feeling every curve of the metal. "His name," she said, "was Elijah Turner. Maybe you've heard it." The gate attendant's fingers froze above the keys. Reed blinked once, but his expression didn't change. "Never heard of him," he replied. Talia felt something shift inside her. The first crack in the day's calm facade. Then the overhead speaker chimed, "Final boarding call for Flight 287 to Boston. Doors will close in 10 minutes. 10 minutes, Talia thought. 10 minutes to decide whether to shrink or finally step into the place her grandfather had carved out long before she was born. She lifted her chin. "I think," she said quietly, "you should ask someone who has heard of him." The terminal had gone still, like the world inhaled and was waiting to see what came next. Captain Reed's brow tightened. He didn't like being challenged, especially not by a teenager. Talia sensed it, the stiffness in his shoulders, the slight flare of his nostrils. A man used to control. A man who didn't expect pushback from someone her age. But she wasn't backing down. Denise stepped closer, voice firm but steady. "Captain, Elijah Turner logged more hours for this airline than most pilots ever will. If you check your records, you'll find him." Reed crossed his arms. "Even if he did fly here 20 years ago, that doesn't change policy today." "It wasn't 20 years, Talia whispered. "He flew until he couldn't. He trained half the first-generation pilots you work with." One woman behind them murmured, "Turner. I think my uncle mentioned that name once." Another nodded slowly, as if dusting off an old memory. Reed's gaze flicked toward the growing audience. Attention made him sharper, tighter. "This conversation is over. Either move her seat, or you'll both need to step aside and we'll reassign." The gate attendant swallowed hard. "Captain, maybe I should run the name. Just in case." He didn't answer at first. The silence stretched, uncomfortable. Talia could hear suitcase wheels dragging across tile somewhere behind her, could feel the dry chill of airport air blowing from a nearby vent. Everything ordinary suddenly felt pointed and tense. Then Reed exhaled through his nose. "Fine. Check it. But it won't change where she's sitting." The attendant hesitated only a beat before typing. Talia stood beside her mother, heart thudding. She had never wanted attention, not like this. But some doors needed to be knocked on, even if her voice shook behind the knock. Denise squeezed her shoulder. A quiet signal, "I'm here." The keyboard clicked. Screens reflected pale blue across the attendant's glasses. For a moment, no one breathed. Then her eyes widened. "Sir," she said slowly. "The Turner name comes up multiple times. Founding pilot. Historical executive board records." And she looked closer. "He's listed as co-founder of the airline's original charter." The words felt unreal, even though Talia had always suspected there was more to it. More legacy. More story. Reed's jaw tightened. Co-founder. That's not possible. If that were true, we would have been briefed. "The system says it clearly," the tenant replied. "He sat on ownership council for 40 years. Retired with honors. And there's more." A small group of passengers stepped closer, curiosity blooming into concern. Denise spoke gently but firmly. "Our family never bragged. He served quietly. That was his way." Reed took one step closer to Talia, voice low. "Even if this is accurate, it does not give you authority over seating." "No," Talia agreed, surprising herself with calm, "but it means we deserve respect. The same respect every paying passenger does." A ripple of murmurs. Agreement, soft but growing. Reed's pen tapped his badge again. Sharp, fast, irritated. A nervous tell. He turned toward the gate attendant. "Keep boarding. We don't have time for legend hunting." The attendant nodded reluctantly, though her eyes flicked back to Talia with something like recognition. Boarding resumed, but the atmosphere had changed. People were watching Reed now. Watching how he handled a girl with wings in her jacket and legacy in her voice. As they stepped down the jet bridge, Reed paused, blocking the aisle into the plane. "This discussion ends here," he said quietly. "I will not be challenged on my aircraft." Denise opened her mouth to protest, but Talia touched her hand, just enough to say, "Let me handle this." She met Reed's eyes. Calm, steady, determined. "If you won't listen to me," she said softly, "I'll find someone who will." Reed's expression flickered, just a shadow of unease, as behind them, a flight attendant leaned out of the cabin. Her name tag read, Marion Lewis, Senior Crew Chief. And when her gaze landed on Talia, something in her face changed. Recognition. Memory. Something close to shock. "Talia Turner," she breathed. The jet bridge quieted again. Reed slowly turned toward Marion. "You know her." Marion swallowed, eyes bright. "I knew her grandfather." Marion Lewis stepped fully into view, blocking the entryway with quiet authority. Her voice trembled, not with uncertainty, but with memory. "I trained under Elijah Turner," she said, eyes never leaving Talia's face. "He taught me my first emergency procedure. Told me I'd fly higher than fear if I kept my head and heart aligned." She smiled softly. "He pinned his own spare wings to my uniform the day I earned senior crew. Said I reminded him of his granddaughter." Denise's breath hitched. Talia felt her knees soften. Reed shifted, uncomfortable. "That may be true, but sentimental history does not override protocol." "She's still being moved to." Marion lifted a hand. Not defiant, not dramatic, just firm. "With respect, Captain, protocol begins with treating passengers with dignity. We do not relocate someone who is documented and seated without cause. Her paperwork is valid. Her seat is confirmed." Reed's voice dropped a notch. "I said, and I heard you," Marion replied gently, turning so passengers could see her face, see her certainty. "But I also hear this young woman. And I hear the legacy that built the runway beneath our feet. Elijah Turner is more than history. This airline stands because he stood first." A murmur rippled through the boarding line. A woman in line spoke under her breath. If her family helped found the airline, shouldn't she? Reed shot her a glance, and the woman fell silent. Talia felt every cell in her body vibrating. She wanted to step back, hide, breathe. But her grandfather had not built his skies for silence. Tentatively, she slipped her hand into her jacket and revealed the small silver wings. They caught the jet bridge light with a soft flash. Old metal, well-loved, unmistakable. Marion gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Those were his," she whispered. "He wore them his whole career." Passengers craned to see. Even the gate attendant leaned forward, while softening her earlier tension. Reed's jaw locked. "Wings don't change policy." "Then policy needs to see the full picture," Marion answered, turning to the flight phone on the cabin wall. Her fingers hovered over the intercom button. Talia blinked. "What are you doing?" Marion inhaled slowly. calling the captain superior. Our protocol demands clarity when historical documentation intersects passenger treatment. She paused, looking Talia directly in the eyes. And child, today might be bigger than you think. Reed stepped toward her sharply. You will not escalate this. But Marion didn't move away. She met his gaze head-on, calm, seasoned, unafraid. This airline was built by people like Elijah Turner. People who believed fairness wasn't optional. If you remove her seat without cause, Captain, you violate policy. And I will report it. The jet bridge held its breath. Reed's hand twitched at his side. You'd risk your position over this? I'd honor the one who gave me my wings, Marion replied. Talia swallowed. Her throat felt tight. She had never seen adults stand for her like this. Not with quiet steel. Not with memory as proof. Marion lifted the intercom. Pressed the button. A soft chime echoed through the cabin. This is Senior Crew Chief Marion Lewis requesting immediate ground supervisor at Gate C-12, she said. Passenger dispute tied to founder lineage. Repeat, founder lineage. Yes. Whispers. A man dropped his boarding pass. Reed stared at Talia, eyes sharp, calculating. In that moment, something changed behind his expression. Not acceptance, not yet, but realization. She was no longer just a kid. She was a Turner. And this was no ordinary seat. Somewhere in the terminal, footsteps began to approach, purposeful, quick. Authority was coming, and with it, a decision that could rewrite the entire flight. The sound of approaching shoes echoed before the man appeared. Polished black Oxfords, crisp navy suit, airport ID clipped to his belt. He moved with purpose, not hurried, but aware. Ground Supervisor Thomas Blake, he announced as he reached them. His voice was even professional. Report states passenger seating conflict and heritage claim involving founding pilot. I'd like a full recount, please. Passengers parted subtly, forming a loose semicircle around the jet bridge entrance. Reed straightened his shoulders, trying to reassert control. It's simple, he said. This young passenger, Miss Turner, cannot sit in first class due to age and anxiety documentation. Safety determines seating. Denise's jaw tightened. She does not require relocation. She's 15, not an infant. And her medical note approves standard travel accommodations. Blake turned to Talia, kind but careful. Miss Turner, is that correct? Talia nodded, steadying her breaths. I bought the seat. Followed rules. I didn't ask for special treatment, only to keep what we paid for. Marion stepped forward, wings glinting softly on the edge of memory. I trained under her grandfather. I have direct knowledge of his contributions. He was more than a pilot, he was a cornerstone. A ripple again through the onlookers. Blake lifted a brow. We do not base seating on heritage, but we do investigate when historical ties indicate potential misclassification or disrespect. He glanced toward the gate attendant, who still had the Turner file open. You verified founder status? Yes, sir, she said, voice firmer now. Co-founder. Board records. Long-term ownership. Blake absorbed this, expression unreadable. Reed stepped in quickly. We are minutes from pushback. If we delay, we risk missing departure. This dispute could have been avoided if the passenger simply cooperated. The word cooperated hit like a shove. Talia felt her pulse spike. She took a small breath, recalling her grandfather's voice again, soft as twilight, firm as steel. If someone blocks your sky, don't beg them for room. Show them you belong in it. She lifted her chin. Supervisor Blake, my grandfather believed this airline could be a place where everyone was treated with respect. I'm not demanding privilege, but I won't be downgraded because someone assumes I don't belong. Silence. Not fearful. Full. Blake studied her a long weighing moment. Then he turned to Reed. Captain, was there a safety violation? Seat malfunction? Medical restriction? Any documented reason she cannot occupy 1A? Reed hesitated. Just long enough. No, he admitted stiffly. Only procedural caution. Blake's reply came measured. Then procedure stands. Passenger Turner keeps her seat. No relocation without cause. A soft cheer rose from the watchers. Not loud but warm. Vindication in a hum of human agreement. Reed's eyes flickered. Pride bruised. Understood, he said, though it tasted like surrender. Blake nodded once. Bored them. Respectfully, Marion turned toward Talia, smile gentle as a hand on the shoulder. Come on, sweetheart. Let's get you settled. Talia stepped forward, one careful foot, then another, into the cabin she had nearly been denied. The leather seats gleamed under warm overhead light. The cabin smelled of coffee, citrus disinfectant, and possibility. Passengers filed behind them, quieter now, more observant. Some gave her small nods. One older man whispered, "Your grandfather must be proud." Talia felt her throat tighten, but this time not from fear. As she reached row 1, she paused, palm on seat 1A. Her seat, her place. Behind her, Captain Reed lingered in the aisle, gaze shadowed with something new, wariness perhaps, or curiosity, because the conflict wasn't over. Authority had intervened, yes, but she hadn't yet learned why her grandfather's name carried weight beyond memory. And somewhere beyond this moment, a truth waited, one she was not prepared for. A truth that could turn this entire flight upside down. The cabin settled, boarding nearly complete, though an electric tension lingered like static waiting for lightning. Talia placed her backpack beneath the wide seat, fingers brushing the silver wings once more. Reassurance, resolve. Captain Reed stepped into the cockpit, jaw tight, but Supervisor Blake remained in the galley, speaking quietly with Marion. Words were low, unreadable, but their glances toward Talia suggested something bigger brewing beneath the surface. Passengers buckled in. Overhead bins clicked shut. Engines hummed like distant thunder. Then, unexpected motion. Supervisor Blake approached row 1, stopping beside Talia and Denise. Before we depart, Blake said softly, there's someone you may want to speak with. The airline's interim executive chair is here today for an inspection flight. When I reviewed the Turner file, I reached out. Talia blinked. Executive chair? On this plane? As of 5 minutes ago, Blake nodded. Denise straightened. Why would they come here over a seating dispute? Blake's look deepened, careful, meaningful. Because Elijah Turner wasn't just a founder. He held retained family voting rights within the company charter. If lineage is confirmed, that authority passes down. Legally, Talia froze. What? She whispered. Blake lowered his voice further. You may not just be a passenger today, Miss Turner. You may be an heir to decision authority within this airline. The words were impossible. Heavy, bright. Passengers fell silent around them, listening without pretending otherwise. And then the cabin door reopened. A woman entered. Mid-60s, silver-streaked hair, posture sharp as a runway line. Her badge read, Eleanor Brooks, Interim Executive Chair. She stopped at Talia's row. I came because of your grandfather, she said. Because I knew one day a Turner might return. Reed stepped from the cockpit, face pale. Chairwoman Brooks, this isn't necessary. The matter is settled. Brooks did not even look at him. Instead, she studied Talia, eyes bright but unreadable. Elijah Turner fought for this airline when we had 2 jets, no money, and no public trust. He refused investors who demanded exclusionary practices. He insisted, quietly, firmly, that the sky should be open to everyone. Talia's chest tightened. She had known pieces. Not this. Brooks continued. He held silent equity to protect those values for future generations. Your family line is the guardian of that equity. Denise whispered. We never knew. He didn't tell many, Brooks said. To him, legacy meant service, not power. She turned to Blake. Verify lineage records and initiate air review protocol. Reed's voice rose, thin with shock. You're saying this girl, this child, could influence policy? Brooks met him with steel. If she chooses, if her documentation holds, and if her integrity matches the man who raised her. Passengers watched, hushed as a chapel. Talia's voice was barely sound. What does that mean for right now? Brooks gave the smallest smile. It means Captain Reed reports to his passengers, and to the family that built the wings he flies beneath. Reed stiffened, shame and realization flickering like broken light. The power reversal was total. Quiet, burned, unmistakable. Talia Turner, once nearly pushed into economy, now stood at the threshold of authority she never asked for, yet suddenly belonged to. And the flight was only beginning. The cabin door closed. Seatbelt lights blinked overhead, small constellations demanding attention. But no one moved. No one reached for headphones or magazines. They were witnesses now, and something far more than a routine flight was unfolding. Eleanor Brooks remained standing at 1A, steady as altitude. "Talia," she said softly, "your grandfather once told me that the sky was democracy, open only if guarded with humility. If you choose to accept air review, you may help shape how this airline treats people. Policy, culture, future." Talia felt the weight of it settle on her shoulders, not crushing, just real. "I never thought I'd have responsibility like this," she whispered. Brooks nodded. "Responsibility comes for the willing, the brave. You've shown both today." Reed stepped closer, voice low but brittle. "With respect, Chairwoman, are we truly elevating a teenager based on bloodline? Procedure exists." "Yes," Brooks replied. "Procedure exists because this family insisted passengers be treated fairly. When a pilot challenges that principle, we look closely at why." Reed swallowed. Pride softened into something like regret. Denise leaned toward her daughter. "Baby, you don't have to decide anything today. No one should force leadership you didn't ask for." But then Talia did something no one expected. She reached into her jacket, opened her palm. The silver wings glimmered, aged, brave, familiar. "My grandfather carried responsibility without ever demanding recognition," she said. "I don't want power. I want people treated right, including Captain Reed." "Yes." Soft, astonished. Reed's eyes snapped up in surprise. Talia continued, voice even, heart certain. "I want him held accountable, yes, but not punished without understanding. Maybe he was wrong today, but maybe he was taught rules without history. And history matters." Marion exhaled slowly, eyes shining. Brooks studied the girl as if the world had rearranged itself in front of her. "You speak like Elijah," she murmured. "Not with authority, but with purpose." She turned to Reed. "Captain, you will complete a review on passenger treatment protocol. Leader oversight will follow." Reed bowed his head, humbled, not destroyed. "Understood, Chairwoman." "And Miss Turner." His voice shook. "I'm sorry. Apology. Public sincere." Passengers nodded approval. One even clapped once, sharply, like a gavel of goodwill. Talia breathed out. Not triumph. Release. Brooks placed a hand gently over Talia's. "This airline may need people like you more than you know. When we land, I would like a conversation. Not about power, but about preserving what your grandfather built." Talia nodded, heart pounding like wings ready to rise. As Brooks returned to her seat, Marion whispered, "Your grandfather gave me courage once. You gave it back today." The engines roared to life, vibrating through the cabin floor. "Roll forward." Sky calling. Talia settled into 1A at last. Wide seat, warm light, view of cloud-bound promise. Her mother exhaled beside her. "You changed something today," Denise said quietly. Talia touched the wings one last time before buckling in. "Granddad started it," she said. "I just refused to let it end." The plane surged upward, wheels leaving Earth, like legacy taking flight. But with new power came new expectations. And not everyone on this plane, or in this airline, would welcome a Turner stepping into the light. The clouds ahead looked peaceful. The future behind them was shifting. And turbulence, emotional, structural, inevitable, waited beyond cruising altitude. The plane leveled off above the clouds. Light poured through the windows, a soft, forgiving gold. But in the hush of first class, the aftermath hung heavier than altitude itself. Talia stared at the seat back ahead, trying to steady her mind. Just hours ago, she was a nervous girl holding an inhaler and hope. Now she held history, legacy, an unexpected voice. Flight attendants passed down the aisle with citrus water and warm towels, but whispers floated behind them, gentle, cautious. "That's the Turner girl. Founder's family imagined that. She handled it with grace. More than I could at her age." Talia wished she could shrink, just for a second. Instead, she breathed slowly, 4 counts in, 4 counts out, just like her therapist taught her for panic spikes. Not to erase feeling, but to carry it with steadiness. Denise watched her daughter quietly, mother's heart full but wary. "You okay, sweetheart?" Talia nodded. "Just the processing." It feels big. Bigger than me. It is big, Denise said softly. But that doesn't mean you're smaller than it. A seatbelt clicked somewhere behind them. Marion approached once more, kneeling beside 1A as the cabin lights dimmed for rest. I wanted to say, she began, eyes warm and clear. I served 30 years under captains who carried Elijah Turner's picture in their lockers. He saved this airline during a strike, personally flying extra routes to keep us aloft. You carry more than his name, you carry his spirit. Talia swallowed. He never told us any of this. Why keep it secret? Marion hesitated, thinking. Legacy grows best in quiet soil. He trusted the future would find you when you were ready. The words settled into Talia like light settling into morning. But fallout was not only praise. Minutes later, Captain Reed emerged from the cockpit, not defensive, not hostile. Thoughtful. He stopped beside her row. Passengers fell silent again. Miss Turner, he said, voice measured, I want to acknowledge something. I didn't see you clearly today. I saw procedure, policy, risk. And in doing so, I dismissed a passenger who followed every rule. He paused. I'm willing to learn. If you'll help me understand where I went wrong. The request was extraordinary. Vulnerable. Human. Talia met his eyes. You didn't ask why I was anxious. You assumed it made me less capable. Less deserving. Reed absorbed that like a lesson rather than a rebuke. You're right, he said quietly. I will remember that. A ripple of understanding. Not applause this time, but something deeper. Reconciliation. The cabin felt warmer. Softer. Like tension had finally found a place to land. But fallout is never only personal. 30 minutes later, an attendant approached Denise with a discreet message slip, old-fashioned paper, folded once. She opened it carefully. A short note in clean handwriting. Internal inquiry initiated. Ownership lineage under review. Expect contact from corporate board. Below it, one sentence underlined twice. Not all will welcome a Turner return. Denise passed the note to Talia. The words chilled more than the altitude. This story wasn't closing. It was beginning. And the family name she carried with such tender pride might soon become heavier than wings. The wheels touched down in Boston with a gentle bump. Nothing dramatic, just steady contact between sky and earth. Yet Talia felt the landing differently, as if her life had touched ground in a new way, too. Firmer. Braver. Passengers rose slowly, retrieving bags with unusually soft courtesy. A few paused before leaving, turning toward her row, not to intrude, but to acknowledge. You reminded us to stand up for ourselves. Elijah would be proud, dear. You have a voice. Keep using it. With each comment, Talia thanked them, eyes bright, heart full. She didn't crave praise. She simply felt seen, no longer the invisible girl in the wrong seat. As they stepped into the chilly concourse, Eleanor Brooks awaited them near the gate. Arms folded, expression thoughtful. I meant what I said, Talia, she began. This company may need your insight. Policies need younger, kinder eyes. People deserve fairness without fighting for it. Talia tried to smile, but the note she'd received mid-flight weighed quietly in her pocket. Someone warned us, she said. Not everyone wants a Turner back. Why? Brooks exhaled slowly. Founding families hold influence, silent but powerful. Your grandfather protected this airline from profit over people decisions. Some executives prefer efficiency to empathy. They fear what you represent. Denise stiffened protectively. My daughter isn't a pawn in corporate tension. Brooks nodded. I agree. That's why the choice must be hers. Choice. The words settled like soft dust. Talia looked past the wide windows where aircraft gleamed under morning sun. Metal wings shimmered, like her grandfather's, only larger, louder. But no louder than the courage he'd left her. What if I want to help? She asked quietly. Not for power. For fairness. So no one's pushed aside the way I was. Brooks' smile was small and hopeful. Then I will guide you. You won't be alone. Not every legacy is heavy. Some lift. Denise slipped her hand into her daughter's. If you do this, we do it together. As a family. Talia nodded, exhaling slow and sure. I want to attend the scholarship ceremony first. Learn. Grow. Then maybe we talk about air review. Brooks extended her hand, not claiming her, but welcoming her. A measured step, she said. Your grandfather would approve. Security officers and flight staff moved around them like river flow. But for a moment, time felt still, like history bending quietly toward a new horizon. Talia shook the executive's hand, not as a child, as a Turner. They walked toward baggage claim, wheels rolling rhythmically over tile. At the escalator, Marion appeared once more, suitcase in hand. I swapped flights, she said. Wanted to watch you walk into this new chapter. Sometimes support needs to touch ground with you. Talia hugged her, brief, sincere. Thank you for believing me. Marion's hand rested lightly on her shoulder. Your grandfather believed first. I just followed the wings. As they parted, Denise looped her arm through her daughter's. Ready? She asked. Talia nodded, silver wings warm in her pocket like heartbeat and promise. Ready. But even ready hearts tremble at the unknown. And somewhere, in polished boardrooms far above ordinary passengers, decisions were already shifting. Papers moving. Voices rising. A Turner had returned. And nothing would be quiet again. 3 months later, Boston's late spring sun spilled across the glass walls of the Skybridge headquarters. Blossoms drifted on warm wind outside, petals like small white wings in the air. Inside a third-floor conference room, Talia Turner sat at a long oak table beside Denise, hands folded, posture steady. She was taller now, not in inches, but in presence. Confidence had grown roots beneath her feet. Eleanor Brooks stood at the front, reviewing documents with calm authority. Final agenda item, she announced, is the Youth Aviation Outreach Initiative, proposed by Miss Turner. A stir among board members, soft coughs, shifting notebooks, not resistance, but curiosity. Talia breathed once, gently. Then she rose. My proposal is simple, she said, voice clear as morning. We create scholarships for young flyers, especially those who feel they don't belong in the sky. We train staff in respectful seating protocol. No passenger should defend their right to exist in the space they paid for. She placed one hand lightly over the silver wings pinned inside her blazer, the third and final appearance, small but shining. Elijah Turner believed the sky widens when we widen doors. I want us to widen them again. Silence followed, long, weighty, listening silence. Then Brooks spoke, eyes bright. Seconded. One by one, hands lifted around the table. Not unanimous, 4 hesitated, but enough. Motion approved. A soft warmth filled Talia's chest, not victory, but alignment. Like the world had straightened beneath her feet. After the meeting, they walked outside into sunlight. Denise rested an arm around her shoulders. You did something good, she murmured. Talia looked upward. A plane cut across the blue, leaving a clean white trail behind, straight as purpose. I just carried what Granddad left, she said. He showed me the path. I only stepped onto it. Later that evening, Talia and Denise sat beneath a willow in a quiet park. A small viewer's post popped on Talia's phone, unplanned, unexpected. Someone who'd been on that Dallas flight had shared the story online. Only one post, one platform. But comments beneath it were gentle waves. The girl with the wings changed the way I think. I saw respect happen in real time. She didn't fight for power. She built something better. No viral storm. No spotlight blaze. Just steady ripples where humanity travels. Talia turned off the phone. She didn't need applause. She'd rather feel grass under her shoes and wind against her face. A jogger passed with earbuds, unaware. Children fed ducks at the pond. Life moved on, not smaller, just quieter. Mom, Talia said, leaning in, I don't know how far this goes. Air review, policies, everything coming next. Denise smiled softly. One step at a time, baby girl. The sky isn't conquered, it's navigated. Talia exhaled into the soft evening breeze. It carried no fear now, only forward motion. She closed her eyes, whispering like a promise to the world and to the grandfather she loved beyond memory. I'll keep the wings in the air. The willow branches swayed. The pond shimmered. A plane droned overhead, steady, certain, free. The story was no longer about a seat on a flight. It was about who takes flight next. Andy, thanks for watching.